morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Today is December 7th, and this is a meeting of the State Street Subcommittee. Madam Clerk, can we please have a roll call?
Certainly. Chair Harmon?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Snedden?
Here.
Councilmember Gutierrez?
Present.
Thank you very much. And we will move on to the next agenda item, which is preliminary matters. Mr. Harris, I believe you'll take us through those items.
I will. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Jason Harris, City's Economic Development Manager. For announcements, I'm just going to pull up the next slide here, just highlighting to the subcommittee members of the public watching today, we have now a new web page for the future of State Street, the survey. This is a screenshot. Here in the bottom corner of the screenshot, you'll see the web address, santabarbaraca.gov/State Street. Pull you to the website. We have the PowerPoint presentation of kind of the history of State Street, contact information, staff presentation that we've been giving, a little bit of a write-up, of the effort, but more importantly, the community survey. So that is up and available. We're going to be adding the Spanish language survey to the widget today, and so that will go live as well. And that's the only update I have for the announcement wise. And just going on for the rest of the outline of the presentation today, we have the agenda review. We have 3 items for discussion: an update on the future of State Street visioning process, an update on State Street management, next steps, meeting schedule of the State Street Subcommittee 2021, and meeting adjournment. And with that, our next action is approval of the minutes from November 9th, 2020.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Harris. I will invite my colleagues to come on to make any comments they might have about the minutes, or I will entertain a motion to move them forward.
I'll make the motion to move forward.
Second. Thank you. Madam Clerk, may we take a roll call, please, to approve the minutes of the November 9th, 2020 meeting, as moved by Councilmember Gutierrez and seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Snedden. Madam Clerk?
I will step in for Ms. Pena. Roll call. Chair Harmon?
Yes.
Councilmember Gutierrez? This is approval of the minutes. Councilmember Gutierrez.
Sorry, my mic was off.
Certainly. And Mayor Pro Tem Snedden.
Yes.
That is a unanimous approval of the minutes of November 7th. And then moving on, we now have opportunity for public comment. This is public comment for any items that are not on the agenda, but under the purview of the subcommittee. I think the public generally has followed this, but again, the instructions are indicated as such. Can raise the hand icon on the display panel, and Holly will queue everyone up, and we'll take questions or public comment at that point. Ms. Pena, do we have any individuals noted?
Ms. Perea, do you have any folks lined up to make general public comment? Thanks, Mr. Harris.
Yes, we do. We have quite a few people with their hands raised. We're going to go ahead and start with Mitchell Severn, and I probably butchered that last name, but Mitchell Severn, you're welcome to go ahead and speak, please.
Thank you very much. Good morning, members of the Subcommittee on State Street. My name is Mitchell Shervin, and I am the owner and operator of Bouchon Restaurant on West Victoria Street. I want to start by thanking you for taking a leadership role in reshaping downtown Santa Barbara. The decisions made over the next few months will have a huge impact on so many, both in the short term during this unprecedented moment and for future generations of Santa Barbarans. I want to emphasize that much of the constructive criticism that our guests have shared with us over the past 7 months centers on two broad categories within the promenade. Categories I realize you are addressing in great detail, and that would be safety and aesthetics. From a safety perspective, the most frequent comments we hear from our guests is concern over the presence of large transient population, whether that's reasonable or not. That is the most shared sentiment. And secondly, it's pedestrian safety both in crosswalks and on State Street vis-a-vis bikes, as you're well aware. Lastly, we hear quite a bit about lighting at night being required, and I know that's being worked on. From an aesthetic standpoint, guests are looking for clear signage, consistency in sidewalk versus street usage, and simply put, just a better, cleaner overall appearance. I realize you're aware of these concerns, but just wanted to share what we've heard firsthand working on the promenade since early summer. And on another note, I wanted to strongly reiterate that the owners of the 10 food and beverage establishments on West Victoria request that the City Council continue the current closure of West Victoria Street to vehicles between State and Chapala Streets in conjunction with the anticipated closure of the 1200 block of State Street. Combined, these two blocks host more than 20 food and beverage establishments and would create a vibrant entrance to the northern terminus of the promenade in the heart of the historic arts district. Santa Barbara citizens are overwhelmingly supportive of the promenade, and when close to traffic, our four adjacent arts and entertainment venues, Arlington, Granada, Newvic, and Soho, could all be accessed by pedestrians without having to cross the street with vehicle traffic. What better way to welcome back our theater goers post-pandemic than with the continuation of our promenade? Thanks very much, and best of luck to us all.
Thank you, Mr. Shervin. Ms. Perea, next speaker, please.
Next, we have Marge Caffarelli. Marge, if you want to go ahead and unmute yourself.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to the council and staff regarding the State Street closure. Mitchell said just about everything I wanted to share with you, so I'm not going to repeat it, but I will emphasize that the businesses on West Victoria, the outdoor seating has really been a lifeline. And I know that for our tenants in the Santa Barbara public market, to be able to seat those 60 additional folks out on the street has been incredibly important. And I would also like to say how proud I am of that half block of West Victoria with everything that the businesses have done, Bouchon, Olio y Limone, Scarlet Begonia, and our gazebos and outdoor space. We have had such positive feedback from folks who don't come downtown, but who feel really safe coming to that half block and the 1200 block of State Street. It just feels inviting, and it feels, like a place that they would like to come and enjoy. So again, thank you all for your hard work, your visioning, your commitment to helping make this very challenging time something that these businesses can survive in. So really appreciate your time and your effort. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Caffarelli. Next speaker, please, Ms. Perea.
Next, we have Barry Remis. Barry Remis, you may go ahead and unmute yourself.
Good morning, commission members, subcommittee members. The only thing I just wanted to point out is that I don't see, just maybe an administrative, I don't know if there was an oversight, I don't see the November 9th minutes being posted on the State Street Subcommittee website. The last minutes that seem to be there are October 26th. So just wanted to point that out. So if maybe those can be posted, that would be great. And hope everybody enjoyed a great Thanksgiving. We are all very thankful for the promenade that we have in the downtown, and we at Coast and SB Bike really look forward to continuing to work to make it all the more of a communal place. Thank you. Happy holidays.
Thanks, Mr. Remis. We will make sure those get posted. Next speaker, please. Thanks, Ms. Perea.
And just as a quick clarification, those were the meetings that were just approved by the subcommittee. So they will be posted within 24 hours. They should be posted.
Yeah.
Next speaker is Anna Gott. Anna Gott, go ahead. You're welcome to start speaking.
Good morning. I wanted to just bring up a few issues related to alcohol. As you know, a few years ago, the city council then voted to actually look into having an alcohol ordinance, and we still haven't even brought that back to council. It's been incredibly delayed, and we're only looking at off-sale licenses, not, retail licenses, and not the other licenses that we actually have issued in the city. We actually have an overconcentration of alcohol licenses, which, as you all know, actually increase crime. And we have a substantial amount of the police budget. And by the way, we're having a lot of people call for defunding the police. That's actually used for alcohol. If it's not DUIs, it's assault. If it's not people drunk in public, it's college students falling down drunk in public on state streets. You know, when we have had, even during the pandemic, State Street open for pedestrians walking between different bars. I also want to bring to your attention the fact that we do a very poor job of actually ensuring that we have good terms for newly established businesses with alcohol licenses. Let me give you an example. Anthony Wagner over at the police department puts a term and condition for the ABC license to allow a permit, and you can have amplified music that is going to be heard beyond the premises, and you're going to be able to hear people in a patio beyond the premises to the furthest, the nearest residential unit 100 feet away. When our noise ordinance says that we're not supposed to hear anything past the property line. Isn't that kind of crazy? But what's more crazy is the fact that you have a planning department that doesn't even look at the actual license premise diagram that the ABC is going to permit. And often they're taking up more area than they actually are allowed to use in a building for dining, as an example. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Scott. Next speaker, please, Ms. Perea.
Next, we have Cassandra Ensberg. Ms. Ensberg, you're welcome to go ahead and start speaking.
Hi, good morning. Hey, my apology on for one of the items later, so I'll just let this go right now, and I will speak to the item. And thank you. Nice to see you all. Thank you very much. Sorry about that.
Okay, and our next speaker is Richard Clausen. Richard Clausen, you're welcome to go ahead and start speaking. Unmute yourself, please.
Thank you very much, Ms. Perea and subcommittee members. I'm frankly glad to hear the growing business support for a closed State Street. All of you are young to remember, but I do. I remember the history of State Street closure when businesses were just almost unanimously against it. Where will I get my deliveries? How will I do this? And so over the years, there's been it seems like a 180-degree turnaround, and I welcome it. I've long thought that closing State Street for sections would be a good thing for us all. My comment, though, really now is about acrobatic cyclists in the promenade on State Street. They seem to be a vexing problem, and they often get lumped in with other types of cyclists and cause problems in that aggregate. I'm not sure that they are truly downtown residents, but suspect that they probably come to the promenade for the audience that it provides and those attractive obstacles that they have to get around. And I wondered whether there's a way that they could be surveyed to see how or if the city could satisfy their desires somewhere else, somewhere other than on Lower State. I know that we've done that in the past for skateboarders, and we have skate parks. And I know that those skate parks are also used by bicyclists, and I'm not sure that that's a great mix, but I know that acrobatic cyclists are always looking for places to do their recreation. And if there were specific places, maybe there are and I'm not aware of them, but if there were specific places not on State Street that could attract them, that would be an improvement for the promenade. Thanks.
Thanks, Mr. Clausen. Next comment, Mr. Gutierrez, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I just want to comment on that some of us on the city council and city staff and other biking organizations are having that conversation. So I just want to throw that out there that we are looking into finding an alternative location to host these cyclists. It's just a matter of finding a location that's suitable and possibly finding funding that will make it happen sooner.
Thank you, Mr. Gutierrez. Mr. Clausen, you may want to reach out to Councilmember Gutierrez directly to get more information about the work that he's doing on this issue. Thank you. Thanks, Ms. Perea. Next commenter, please.
Okay, and it looks like our final commenter will be Robin Elander. Robin, you're welcome to go ahead. Oops, we actually have one more following Robin Elander. But Robin Elander, you're welcome to go ahead and unmute yourself and begin speaking.
Thank you, subcommittee members. This is going to be a very difficult time with the regional stay-at-home order that was just enacted. And I wanted to let you know that the downtown organization is being very proactive in working with our downtown business community, specifically to support them with directing people to buy gift cards, to direct people to shop at their online stores. We've also created a holiday shopping guide, a directory of all downtown businesses that people can go to. And we're also working collaboratively with the chamber to come up with some innovative additional solutions. Some additional ways that we're going to be working with our downtown businesses. This week, we are putting on an Instagram Live digital pop-up series at 3 p.m. every day, featuring numerous different businesses each day for the next 2 weeks. We also have a downtown business spotlight series each Thursday at 3 at December 10th and 17th. We're going to be featuring Ace Rivington, Lovebird, Peanuts Maternity, and the following week, Celadon House, Wendy Foster, Home Habitat and Garden. So these are just a few of the ways that we're trying to really proactively support our businesses at this moment in time. It's such a difficult news, and we know that we need to make sure that our community stays safe. But with where businesses have been along this pandemic road, and with the fact that there are very few, stopgap measures at this point in time to support them financially, we really need to work together to drive locals to shop local. We're also inviting people to shop at our local museums. We have retail shops on our website, as well as inviting people to donate or become a sponsor so that we can further support these downtown businesses. We are continuing with our State Street Promenade Market this Thursday, and each Thursday following from 3 to 7:30. So thank you for all what you're doing, and know that the downtown organization is here to support and collaborate with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Elander. The final commenter, Ms. Perea?
Yes, the final speaker is Kellum DeForest. Kellum DeForest, if you'd like to unmute yourself, you're welcome to go ahead and start speaking.
Okay. I just wanted to be sure in all this visioning for State Street that the design elements of El Pueblo Viejo are upheld, that those design elements need to be taken into account for any construction or design changes, that converting State Street into a promenade is carried out. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. DeForest. Okay, well, with that, we will close general public comment and move on to the first item on our agenda. I will hand it over to Mr. Harris. Thanks.
Thank you for the members of the public calling in and offering comment during the general public comment. That was very informative as always. So our first item of three this morning is an update on the State Street visioning process. And so let me cue that slide up to speak off of. So as referenced during the announcements, we now have a website. It actually went live a week ago, last week, beginning of last week. And we kind of slowly field tested the various links, et cetera, throughout the week. So there at the top of the first bullet point, SantaBarbaraCA.gov. The CA does not need to be capitalized necessarily, just to kind of highlight the long word combined /State Street. We'll bring you to that website where the survey is available. As I referenced earlier, we will be adding the Spanish language link to that widget this morning, later today as well. We're keeping it open throughout the month of January, closing on January the 3rd. And then as always, we have a link to staff. In addition to myself, we have a number of other city colleagues that have access to this website. So if folks have comments that they want to add in adjacent or in expansion, those that have taken the survey have gotten some queries back that we do have on the open-ended fields, kind of taking the feedback from the subcommittee members of having opportunity beyond just the multiple choice questions, as creating as many opportunities for open field comment, recognizing there is limitations within the software, so it's a 250 word count. So if folks, and I have had some email exchange with members of the public that were frustrated that they had more to say in the survey, I would direct them to this email account, futurestatestreet@SantaBarbaraCA.gov, to forward those on. We'll be also collecting that in addition to the survey. So those are really the highlights. At this point, we will be, really enhancing the public outreach and the public education in regards to the survey. Again, we kind of let the first week be a little bit of a test run. So now we'll be enhancing our outreach and notice to the collective community, and I'd also like to extend a gratitude and thanks for members of the public that have been forwarding the link out to the webpage link out to other community groups, et cetera. And so with that, take any questions or comments that the subcommittee members have before we open it for public comment.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. Councilmember Gutierrez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thanks, Mr. Harris. I just have just a couple of follow-up questions to what you were saying. Was the word count issue addressed to us in the meetings leading up to our approval of the survey? I can't remember.
I don't believe we knew the limitation of the Survey Monkey of the 250 word count at that point. So it was really in the field testing to understand. And so it's one of the additional modifications we're adding and have added some description to the survey, just giving notice to folks that there is a word count, so that if they were encountering an error message, or if they're weren't able to continue typing into those open field categories. And I just recognize, and ideally we're getting thousands of responses. We're really emphasizing to folks to be kind of short and sweet in their responses, just because we're going to potentially have hundreds, if not thousands, of responses. So we don't have artificial intelligence programs to help us sort through and evaluate all this information. And so we're really getting multiple sentence responses. Just gets to be kind of onerous as far as the amount of data and analysis that we will be doing.
Okay. I just my personal opinion. I'm always for just allowing the public to be able to voice as much as they want. But if the software we're using has limitations, and maybe we should, one, address that to them, or two, find an alternative. Other than that, you and I had corresponded about there being an issue with the image that would come up when the link was shared. Can you describe that issue and why that happened and what we can do to avoid it in the future?
Yes, so on the website, we had a small write-up section describing the AIA charrette process and provide a link to the AIA Santa Barbara chapter website. And we had included some of the imagery from that. And I think the concern issue was that as for instance, the Voice magazine, weekly periodical picked up the State Street. They just so happened to use that AIA, and I think we're communicating that out in combination with our survey. And so I think it was just creating some confusion with the public as to, is this additional survey of AIA, et cetera? And so we removed that imagery. I thought it was still important to have the link in reference to the AI charrette, just because that's such a useful information of design concepts and ideas. It's obviously somewhat separate from this exercise and effort that we're conducting. And so I think that was just the point of context of where that imagery concern issue had arisen.
So how can we avoid that in the future?
I just need to be more thoughtful of imagery I'm applying to our web pages.
Okay, thank you.
Certainly. Thank you for the feedback.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem?
Oh, excuse me, sorry. My camera. Okay, sorry. Thank you, Madam Chair. The survey's out now, so this comment is a little bit moot, but I do want to say that for numbers 3, 4, and 5, I still feel they're very closed options. Instead of saying for bikes, do you see them this way, and then the open-ended question says, why do you feel this way? Instead of what would you want to see, or how would you picture them happening? So it doesn't invite vision on that one. On number 4 also, I'm really happy you asked the question if you don't come downtown, and I feel like we talked a lot about it, but then the question is, well, why not? Instead of, well, what would bring you downtown? And I think that's something that I really am looking for, those proactive answers of not, if you ask why not, people are going to say parking is crowded, it's this, it's just a negative stream of why not, instead of, well, what would bring you? Like what would draw you? So I'm a little bit, I wish those were that way. And then also with number 5, what major activities do you do? And then it has a list, and then it says other. And again, it's a missed opportunity to say, what would you like to see as an activity downtown? So I think we kind of missed a few opportunities for vision answers on those open-ended. I appreciate that they're open-ended. I still don't feel that these answers will give me what I am really looking for from the community. So I answered the survey, and I was looking for a chance myself to put some things in there, and didn't really see them. So I'm looking forward to getting the results, but I do feel we maybe missed some opportunities there. That's all. It's just a comment.
Thanks. Thank you. Well, I have a couple questions to that. I'll just add, I think those are really valid concerns that both of my colleagues have raised. I hope that we'll all keep an open mind, obviously, when we see the data, and not presuppose that we're not going to get good information out of it. But I think those are really important perspectives that we do have to keep in mind, and certainly should keep in mind as we move forward through this process. My questions, I have 2 questions. First, Mr. Harris, to Councilmember Gutierrez, questions about the word count. 250 words is about a paragraph. Is that, do you have, or how many sentences? I'm just trying to get a sense, and I should have checked this before. I apologize.
Yeah, it's obviously all in context to composition. You could have 2 really long sentences or several short sentences making a paragraph. It's 250 words, so it's a number of characters and words, fairly lengthy.
Is there, thank you, and again, apologies that I didn't check this before the meeting. Have we added a notation on the survey saying, if you have additional comments that do not fit within this box, please email us at this address? I just want to make sure folks know that that's an opportunity.
We put the reference to the word count limit. I think we can add another kind of notice, kind of picking up the collective comments of subcommittee members here. We do end the survey with the email link, a dedicated website. So I think we can enhance that, which is
Great.
if there was additional feedback, and I think getting onto some of the comments of your colleagues of, please email staff your feedback. I'll just also take this opportunity while we're speaking of kind of survey and information and input is kind of in addition to this effort, this is step one, and the step one of a very long journey of 1,000 steps at least of process. And so I would put it out there that I don't believe this is our one and only opportunity and effort to engage the residents, the public at large, to gather their thoughts and feedback into State Street and into the future of downtown. And so in context to that, I would imagine having more outreach efforts and more surveys and discussions with the community as we go forward. So this is the initial kind of step in process. And interesting enough, kind of just on this kind of description of public engagement, the city's actually in the process of looking to update its website and is looking at features within an updated website that would have built in potentially, we're evaluating the kind of technology and the challenges, but the opportunities to build in more survey instruments and methodologies to engage public in a kind of a electronic two-way process. So I think we're circling a common interest here, which is continued engagement and feedback from the community. So I really appreciate the thoughts and provoking questions.
Thank you. We'll keep that in mind. And my final question, Mr. Harris, is can you describe for us in a little bit more detail your plans to advertise, I guess, or maybe that's not the right word, but to let folks know that this survey is open? I know that a press release has gone out, but can you tell the public and us a little bit more about what we're going to be doing to make sure that residents know that they have this opportunity, initial though it may be, to communicate their feedback to us about the future of State Street vis-a-vis this survey?
Certainly. No, I think we're going to be expanding dramatically kind of the noticing effort. So in addition to kind of the formal press release for the media to be picking up, we're going to be incorporating the messaging in all of the city outreach vehicles. So the library's newsletter, our social medias, our electronic newsletter that we send out. Concurrently, we're going to be reaching out to a wide range of stakeholder and community groups. So we'll be forwarding on the link and notice, actually finalizing that now to all our boards and commissions and asking those committee members, commission members to send out there to their networks and affiliated groups. As we've spoken in the past, we'll be reaching out to property management firms to see if they could put, create a flyer that they could put in the laundry rooms at various apartment buildings and complexes to ensure we get the widest range. And then lastly, as we've referenced, we'll be having ambassadors have this incorporated into the ambassadors' information. So they're out, doing their walkthroughs of State Street. Will engage the public that's on the street as well, have kind of that intercept, real-time feedback, as it were.
Great, thank you. Unless there are any additional questions from my colleagues, at this point, I will open it up to public comment. Ms. Perea, is there anyone who wishes to speak on this item?
Yes, we have multiple hands raised. So the first speaker is Marge Caffarelli. Marge Caffarelli, feel free to go ahead and unmute yourself. Marge there you go.
Yeah, no, I did not want to speak on this. Thank you, though.
Okay, we'll go to the next raised hand. All right, the next speaker is Cassandra Ensberg. Ms. Ensberg, feel free to go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hello. One of these days I'm going to understand how this hand raising function works, but I'm intending to speak on the next, not this one, and I'm so sorry. Thank you.
No worries. This is the story of our lives now. Next speaker. Thank you.
Okay, we have more speakers. The next speaker is Anna Gott. Anna Gott, feel free to go ahead and start speaking.
Good morning. I just want to mention a few things with regards to the promenade and how you're actually conducting the survey. So I read that we're going to have the ambassadors survey people as they're walking up and down State Street. I just wonder if we're going to be surveying our residents who are not walking up and down State Street because they're avoiding it during the pandemic. It might be a really good idea to go ahead and ensure that we have ambassadors over at maybe Ralph's or, Trader Joe's or some of the other areas in town where people are actually frequenting. I also want to bring to your attention that in the downtown parking committee meeting this coming week, they have an item on the agenda where we are going to be eliminating a paseo over off of the parking lot that is by Figueroa and Chapala. Apparently a 20-foot wide by at least 100-foot in length paseo is going to be abandoned by the city. So that's actually land, and land is worth something. And we are supposed to be protecting our paseos. So I just wonder what in the world the city is doing. Why are we going to be abandoning land and ceding it to property owners for free? And why are we going to be eliminating a paseo? And paseos are supposed to be, really between buildings, not necessarily along the side of a building next to your parking lot. That's just a walkway. That's not a paseo. The other thing I just want to mention to you is that we've got another hotel that's supposed to be proposed at State Street and Gutierrez with little or no parking. Those tourists who are going to be staying at the hotel need to park somewhere, and they are not going to be required to provide adequate amount of parking, and they're going to be parking in our overcrowded parking lot. So how is parking really going to be working downtown for residents? Thank you.
Thanks, Ms. Scott. Next speaker, please, Ms. Perea.
Next speaker is Richard Clausen. Richard Clausen, go ahead and unmute yourself and you can begin speaking.
Thank you very much, Ms. Perea. I have to say, every time you announce that I can unmute myself, it reminds me of All in the Family when Archie would always say to Edith to stifle herself, and I just think of unstifling myself instead, but in a funny way. And I would like to say thank you very much. I get that email alert that the State Street Subcommittee is going to meet today in 3 hours, and I find that very helpful. Thank you very much. And thank you, Chair Harmon, for bringing up the issue of where the survey is going to be, where else the survey is going to be announced. I'm very interested in outreach, and I'm glad to hear that there already have been thousands of responses. I think that's terrific. But yeah, just knowing that there are going to be multiple ways that people can find out about it is good. I have a question as to why the survey duration has been limited to, or is planned to be ended on January 3rd. I think it could be an ongoing thing, I mean, for much longer, because your process, your deliberative process is going to be much longer. And it just seemed like it was arbitrarily short. And the survey instrument seems like it still may need some work if I'm hearing the subcommittee members correctly. I'd be interested to know if it can be taken multiple times or whether it's limited to an IP address so that you can only take it one time or somebody could take it multiple times. And then to Councilmember Gutierrez's question about the AI charrette images, I was just interested to know whether there is some notice on the city's use of any of those images, that the architectural renderings are probably covered as intellectual property belonging to the architects. Maybe the AIA has already done that, but that's another concern. Thanks.
Thanks, Mr. Clausen. Next speaker, please, Ms. Perea.
Next speaker is Patricia Staley. Patricia, please go ahead and unmute yourself.
Good morning. I understand that this is a self-selected survey, meaning if you're interested in downtown, you're probably going to take the survey. I recall that a couple meetings ago, the committee agreed to also be scientific about your outreach, meaning that you would try to contact city residents who do not come downtown and aren't inclined to take the survey. This would require some expertise from someone who does polling to make sure it's representative of residents, and also a survey given in Spanish. It seems the importance of State Street to our city's future and the amount of money that is likely to be spent on improvements, putting some money towards a scientific survey to preach to other than the choir would be money very well spent. I feel like we're missing a huge contingent that we want to pull in downtown, and we need to reach out to them. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Staley. Next commenter, please, Ms. Correa.
Next commenter is, we have Leslie Wiscombe. Ms. Wiscombe, feel free to go ahead and unmute yourself.
Thank you, Ms. Perea, and good morning to council members. I just wanted to make a couple comments per Mayor Pro Tem Sneddon's comments about the limitations of the survey. I've taken the survey and I agree that it does have limitations. I think it's really, really important, considering you've had so many responses already, that email address for additional feedback gets included. I did not see that there, and I think it's a really, really essential part of getting that at the end of this survey, and also out to the public on how they can really expand on their comments. I would also hope that with the additional feedback from the email address, that this gets shared with the public and it gets included in the evaluations, given that the limitation on words is in the survey. I think people's ideas and expanding on the ideas is very important. And I just wanted to say too that I thought Mr. Clausen's comments were really good ones. Can you take the survey multiple times? I don't know. I've only tried to take it once. And also the time limitation on the survey. If this, as Mr. Harris said, is going to be a very long process, you know, perhaps extending it past this shutdown of the pandemic and into the future, you know, end of January, end of February would be very appropriate. And that's all I have to say. Thank you very much. And thank you for all you do.
Thanks, Ms. Wiscombe. Next speaker, please.
Okay, and the final speaker is Anthony Grumbine. Mr. Grumbine, feel free to unmute yourself.
Okay, thank you. Can you hear me?
We can, thank you.
Okay, great. Sorry. Sorry, I've joined the meeting late, so I just wanted to jump in on this item, as well as if there's any other questions or discussion. But so I do think that the survey is going to be a helpful part of the discussion, and it'll bring up certain things of what may or may not work and why, or what people are feeling about things and why. I do want to accentuate and it's one piece of information that needs to be gathered as things go forward, but it's also just that it's public opinion based on certain things, which is really good and important to know, but it's also only part of the equation for figuring out what should or shouldn't happen with a space. So, or what shouldn't happen, and what will or won't work, because sometimes people really want something, but the reality is it won't. It's not actually viable. It won't actually work long term, or will be good or bad for other reasons. So anyways, just want to kind of bring that out as part of it. I think it's still going to be a useful and good tool or piece of the puzzle. So, and with that, as well, I didn't, for the other items I wasn't on, but I think that in general, there's a few people that I'm in conversation with, and Cass Ensberg I was probably on, and we've been talking as well about helping to give some guidance and some quick charrette to figure out some ideas for at least guiding some of the placement and parklets and a number of the other little pieces, so they can be there can be a little bit better of a standard moving forward that for some of the aesthetics, and that could be just given for people to use and for the city to use. So as a sort of a donation of time effort by myself and by other I asked for volunteers from HLC as well, and so I just wanted to bring up that as a separate side issue, but we're working on it, and I'll keep you up to date as to what happens with that as well. And it's with city staff as well, so in communication right now.
Great.
So with that,
thank you.
I don't know if there is any questions, but yeah.
Thank you so much, Mr. Grumbine. My sincere thanks for your work on that in particular. Mayor Pro Tem Sneddon, did you have a question for Mr. Grumbine?
I did, but I'm not sure if this is the agenda item for it. I think also Ms. Ensberg was maybe going to speak to that too, and this is on the survey specifically, so I'm not sure if this would be the time to propose that we take them up on their offer very enthusiastically and gratefully, or if you want to have that discussion at a different point in the meeting.
Chair, subcommittee members, our next item is on State Street management, and I think those are kind of the topics this falls on. I can give a report out and was planning to on that. On Mr.
Great.
Grumbine's
I'd rather wait, but thank you. Perfect. Well, I would invite Mr. Harris to first please answer the question that was raised by a number of speakers about how many times or whether you can answer this survey more than once, and then I would invite my colleagues to make their comments.
Certainly. As I understand, I have taken the survey twice, just working out and responding to testing to see if there was any kinks and issues. So it does not appear that there is a limitation of, kind of your IP address or, somehow connected to the computer. Recognizing this isn't necessarily a popularity contest or anything of that nature that we would expect anyone to necessarily game the systems. I'll also make a statement of clarification. I put out there that, we're hoping and expecting thousands of respondents. We have about 250 respondents so far. And I'll just kind of expand upon the thinking of timeline. We could leave the survey open, but we put a close date just to kind of create some emphasis of response and providing, because we do have a desire to kind of create a point in time to collect this information, analyze this, hundreds, hopefully thousands of responses, as well as all of the stakeholder. Let's not forget, Mr. Dayton and I have gone out and done kind of these focus groups with about 20 stakeholder organizations, committee, commissions throughout the city organization. So we're going to be looking to bring all of that data, that analysis back to the subcommittee the latter part of January. And so my concern is just kind of leaving this open-ended, just being timely and thoughtful that we do want to kind of pursue and stay focused on really the task at hand, which is development of a vision statement, and then ultimately in associated recommendations. I actually have a slide that speaks to those next steps. So I just want to remark on those collective sets of comments that were made.
Mr. Dayton, do you have something to add?
Madam Chair, I just wanted to make one correction, that it is limited to one per IP address on the survey. So I think that Mr. Harris experienced that during the test. But one IP address per survey take is turned on for that function.
Okay. Thank you,
Great. Thank you very much. Mayor Pro Tem?
I've taken it multiple times. Does that mean you're just counting one of them or the last one, or?
Did you take it from the same computer?
Yeah, I just retook it now because I wanted to see what the questions were again.
Okay, that's not intended to be that way. So we will check with the consultant. He said he had that one turned on. So I wasn't able to take it twice from my my address, but let me see what the issue is.
Has it been translated to Spanish yet?
Mr. Harris would know the answer to that question.
It has been translated. We're actually having the link and load it to the webpage today.
I think there should be added time for the Spanish portion if it hasn't even been out in Spanish, and then I think to really allow sufficient time for that.
Okay.
Thank you. Well, I'll make my comments briefly. I'm going to limit them to the timing. I agree. I think we should. I totally respect that we do want to have some time frame in mind in which to bring this back so we can really keep the momentum going. It concerns me though, January 3rd is right after the holidays. It's during this most recent shutdown. So I would be in favor of extending it even maybe to the end of January. And I realize that sets, you know, any sort of timeline back a couple of weeks, but it seems important enough certainly that we give folks especially because there's just so much that people are dealing with right now. So that's my 2 cents, excuse me. If my colleagues would like to weigh in on that or any other issue related to the survey. Mayor Pro Tem, I'm not sure if you have deliberative comments.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I agree with extending and especially to get as much outreach as possible. I thought that was a thoughtful suggestion from Ms. Gott about having ambassadors not just on State Street, but maybe capturing some locals, or maybe it's not ambassadors, but maybe an opportunity to capture some locals not directly on State Street, especially now that we are heading into these 3 weeks. And so I just some consideration of that, and then really the email added to the end with the invitation to please share any ideas that you didn't have an opportunity to. And I realize it's going to be a lot of information. I'm hoping it's a lot of information. I'm hoping there's a lot to look through, and you know, I'd love to look through them too. I think it's all gold and valuable. So I'd like to invite it as much as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Okay, well, with that, I think we're in agreement on those issues. Very much appreciate if staff could move in that direction, and we can go on to the next item on the agenda, Mr. Harris.
Yes, item 3B is update on State Street management. Here's the slide I'll speak from, and then I'll have some additional commentary, and Mr. Dayton can join in and provide any additional commentary as well. So if council recalls, the imagery here on the slide to the right kind of shows the improvements that are coming. If you recall earlier this year, we brought this item forward, subcommittee recommended, council supported a replacement and enhancement of the traffic control devices. And so the imagery you see, those elements, the large plastic terracotta pots, the bike path entrances to the blocks, kind of the bollards, the overhead lighting. The overhead lighting's actually been installed. It's the traffic control devices and the bike paint stripe into the entrances to the blocks and the additional signage. That's all coming. It's on order. It's going to be installed in January. And this will address a number of the comments and concerns we've heard. Our hope and expectation to give a little bit more organization and structure to cyclists and the pedestrians to really address some of those concerns of safety, pedestrian safety and interaction with cyclists is initially one. So providing update there. To expand on the parklet concepts, this is the outdoor dining areas, both on State Street, on the side streets, and then really parklets throughout the city. As you all recall, we adopted some and revised and issued winterized parklet design guidelines back in October. We've been in the process of doing field inspections and then we're following up with those businesses that have yet to modify those, really addressing the storm flow issue. And then as Mr. Chair of the Historic Landmarks Commission, Anthony Grumbine, remarked, public comment caller, in one of our earlier subcommittee meetings, the idea was raised and staff has followed up in the concepts of reaching out and engaging HLC members as well as other interested architects to kind of do really lacking the verbiage, but kind of a design standards of kind of some minimum design standards that we would be looking to address and work with the businesses to address parklets of, no unfinished wood, for instance, and more consistency, as well as obviously improving aesthetics. So much appreciated to Mr. Grumbine for taking the initiative and being willing to facilitate that, and for any architect colleagues in the community that is willing to assist in that effort. So we're looking forward to implementing and work with businesses to modify. And then the last two bullet points on this slide, the bike safety concerns. That comment came up during public comment at the beginning of the meeting, and subcommittee member, Councilmember Gutierrez referenced that as well, that there is a group of bike advocates, advocacy organizations and city staff that have been meeting and discussing. Obviously, we really don't want to penalize and really put these are our youth in our community. They're finding really safe, creative, healthy ways to enjoy the outdoors and express themselves. We just need to temper the reckless type of activity, and really ultimately probably more likely and going forward, and that's part of the conversation we've had, is where can we redirect that activity? And so are there underutilized surface parking lots? Are there other spaces in the city that would function equally, but not necessarily where we have large pedestrian gathering walkway areas? So those conversations are ongoing, and we're hopeful that we'll find some short-term interim and then longer-term permanent opportunities. Because it was really interesting and fascinating for me to learn that this is a little bit not a new phenomenon. Biking is a new phenomenon, kind of the surge of popularity, but that Santa Barbara has actually a really rich culture of bike riding throughout the community. And it's something that we really want to support and foster. We just need to find the creative and safe manners to do so. And then just lastly, homeless outreach. I do have my colleague, Laura Doubles, here in the city that oversees the service function is available if questions come up. There's actually a meeting today to discuss ongoing, and then a future council meeting actually on December 15th on additional enhancements to our homeless outreach and homeless service functions in the city. But obviously this is a constant concern and issue. Obviously now with the stay-at-home order and the closure of parklets, there is no outdoor dining allowed for the next 3 weeks at a minimum. So even if businesses are allowing takeout and delivery, the public is not encouraged, and businesses are really prohibited for facilitating outdoor dining, even if it's not they're being serviced and providing that service. If it was like a very, almost like a public park space, that's really to be discouraged, because that's the idea is there's just not dining happening in a commercial sense. And so just an update in discussions with City Attorney's Office, the parklets on State Street and the adjacent side streets here in the downtown fall within the city sit-lie ordinance area and are construed to be a part of the street. And so if there is any kind of vagrancy, encampment activity occurring on a parklet, the ambassadors, the police, the businesses have the right to give notice that activity needs to be relocated and is not allowed. So that's just kind of one variation of one of the concerns and issues that stay-at-home order and the parklets have been created. So with that, I'll kind of end my remarks and really take any questions, and then if my colleagues have any additional thoughts that they wanted to join in the conversation.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm assuming we may have some public comment on this, so I'll just ask some questions here. So we're in a really different place over the weekend, and what's going to happen with the parklets over the next 3 weeks? Will they I mean, to what level do restaurants need to bring in their materials, and what are we doing about stormwater? I'm actually more concerned now that they're established but won't be used over the next 3 weeks than before we had them established. So just since this is interim issues that, or short term, that we deal with on this committee, that seems like a really big deal. And then with stormwater too, I know we've sort of discussed that, and there's a bigger issue there with stormwater, but if over the next 3 weeks, shut down, not used, these parklets sort of there but abandoned, and then stormwater, if you could just speak to some of those issues, since that's new information for us. Yeah.
Certainly. Well, I think in response to the kind of the condition of parklets that they're not going to be utilized, parklets come in all stars and stripes out on the street. So there are some that are, pretty substantial structures that have been built. So I don't expect those structures to be moved. There's no requirement to be removed or dismantled. I would assume that the businesses are going to, remove their tables and chairs and, materials just for security purposes. And then the storm flow and enforcement of that will continue. And if anything, this may actually be an open opportunity, as I referenced on the slide, that there has been a follow-up in both on the inspection as well. Now there's follow-up on enforcement. And so this might be a good time where if the business was more, less amenable to modifying just because they had business activity occurring on those parklets, well, there won't be for the next 3 weeks. Difficult because they will also be generating, the same level of income they had prior, but this will be an ongoing requirement nonetheless. And so that enforcement and follow-up will not abate. We won't take a breather on that, and we'll be following up on those inspections.
And then retail shops will still be open at a lower percentage. So I guess there's been some feedback from retailers that they're not visible from the street with some of the parklets, but I guess that will just continue until we figure that out in the bigger picture. And then I guess I would like an update on homeless outreach on State Street specifically. I think we've had a lot of business owners specific to State Street reaching out to us, and I think when we get our update, it'll be include State Street, but maybe if we could have Ms. Doubles give us a very brief update on State Street specifically. And those would be my questions, and later for discussion.
Thank you. We'll wait for Ms. Doubles to join if she's still available with that. Mr. Councilmember Officer Gutierrez.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Mr. Harris. When you're talking about enforcement, how much of our enforcement, whether it's from the PD or the State Street ambassadors, have they been citing people for not wearing masks?
That's a great question. I do not know the kind of enforcement numbers in regards to mask wearing. As we know and recall, there was that requirement in the farmers market, in both wearing masks in the farmers market as well as on no bike riding during farmers market operations. And at the beginning of that ordinance adoption a couple of months ago, we did have kind of a more concentrated enforcement effort. I don't know the current status of that. And then the mask, the countywide mask ordinance, I don't know if the sheriff and or our police have necessarily taken that on as a countywide enforcement within the city jurisdiction. So I'll follow up with you on that question, Councilmember.
Okay, yeah, if we can get that information, because in regards to just the bike riders in general, I know that you have to wear a helmet if you're under the age of 18. So if they're not wearing helmets and they're not wearing masks, then that's just a general safety issue. And I hate to say it, but like my concern is more stopping the spread of the virus. So if they're not wearing the mask and they're just standing around, then in my opinion, that's warranting a citation. So, so if we can actually start being a little more aggressive on that, I'd appreciate it. And I know that doesn't fall on you, but if we can start being more vocal, thanks.
Thank you. And hopefully we'll have Ms. Doubles. I will just ask my question. It's a follow-up related to the homeless. Hi, Ms. Doubles. Thank you. Just to add on to Mayor Pro Tem Snedden's questions, I've heard from a lot of business owners that they have particular concern that folks who are experiencing homelessness will make use of the empty parklets during this period. I think there's a lot of anxiety about how the next 3 weeks will be managed. And so I'm wondering if we have thought at all about increasing, for example, police presence on State Street during this period, or increasing, whether CityNet folks can go out, or additional ambassadors, or whether we've sort of thought about just upping the number of folks we have out there who can do enforcement, management, that type of stuff, in addition to Mayor Pro Tem Snedden's question. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Councilmember Harmon and Snedden and Gutierrez. Thanks for having me here today. And yes, in answer to your questions, we do have, as Mr. Harris mentioned, our no sit lie ordinance that is on State Street. So if there is reports of homeless individuals in the parklets, then that definitely needs to be reported to our police. But in the meantime, I'd like to also assure you that CityNet is available to us, especially with any real urgent situations. Also have a presence, SBI, homeless service providers in Alameda Park, which is, they have found that there's about a 40% crossover of the homeless traffic between State Street and that park. And on Thursdays, our providers are out there trying to assist the homeless as well in meeting some of their needs. Our ambassadors definitely are a very, very good resource. They work very much hand in hand with CityNet. They are able to let CityNet know of any situations that they're seeing out there. They have been an integral part of our homeless street outreach. So yes, we do have the means to try to help in these situations. We definitely would like to know if there's instances, because I know that we can send them out there and see if we can help out. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Doubles. And I would just add, for any business owners or concerned residents who might be watching, we do have a weekly meeting with SB Act and various folks who are interested in dealing with the issue of folks who are experiencing homelessness on State Street. It's a regional action plan. We meet weekly on Friday mornings. So please feel free to send me an email if you'd like to get involved in that effort, or reach out to our staff, of course. This is an all hands on deck moment, certainly. So thank you very much. Any further questions from my colleagues before I open it up to public comment? Hearing none. Ms. Perea, let's see if anyone has their hand raised.
Yes, we have multiple speakers. We're going to start with Ms. Robin Elander. Ms. Elander, please go ahead and unmute yourself, and you're welcome to speak.
Thank you, Holly. Thank you, members of the State Street Subcommittee. Regarding this issue, this is something that we expected to be an issue for this week. So we've scheduled a 4 o'clock call today with a number of stakeholders on this front, particularly police services, people who are providing services to the homeless, as well as trying to figure out what we want to do in terms of safety protocol with all of these outdoor spaces that we need to kind of think about how we want to handle this for the next 3 weeks. So I wanted to let you know that that is available for you all to attend it for today. Jeff Schaefer has coordinated the meeting, and I can send you links on that, or anyone who's interested in being part of that conversation. Thank you.
Thanks, Ms. Elander. Next speaker, please, Ms. Perea.
Next speaker, we have Marge Caffarelli. Marge Caffarelli, please go ahead and unmute yourself.
Thank you, and thank you again for the opportunity to speak. I just wanted to let you know what we're doing on our part of West Victoria. We did build 2 gazebos that I don't know if you've seen, but one on either end of our parklet, and then had the middle section open. And we have hired security, which we had 4 nights a week, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 4 until 10 or 11 at night. But now that we're closed for dining and it's takeout and delivery, we will remain to have all of our lights on during the hours that there is pickup and delivery. In addition to, we have changed our security schedule to 7 nights a week from 11 until 6 in the morning, because we think, you know, we're going to be there until 9 or 10. And so we'll have security coming from 10 until 6 in the morning, walking 4 or 5 times a night, just to make sure that we don't have folks sleeping in the gazebos or, you know, in the landscaping. But I would like to emphasize, and I will join that call at 4 p.m. today, and I would like to be a part of the Friday meeting. But we talk a lot about homeless outreach, and I would like to know what that means. What are we doing when we are reaching out? Are we helping folks find hotel rooms or places to stay? I mean, this is something that's near and dear to me, and I think is its own epidemic and pandemic that we have to solve on a city, county, state, and national level. We need to solve this issue of homelessness. So thank you.
Thanks, Ms. Caparelli. Mr. Gutierrez?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I actually had a question for Ms. Caparelli, if she's still on the line.
Yes.
Thank you. You said you hired your own security, is that right?
Yes, I did, which is separate from Alma del Pueblo's, the residential's security. We hired a security firm for the public market and the outdoor seating area.
And who's paying for that?
I'm paying for it, and when we were open, we allocated a portion of that to the tenants because they wanted security for, you know, we have alcohol out in the parklet, and so we wanted to make sure that everybody was behaving and whatnot. And so it was being spread out amongst the tenants. And now that we're doing this while we're closed, my company will pick up the majority of that bill.
Do you know if there's any other locations on State Street that have their own security?
I don't know.
Because that'd be interesting to see that on other blocks. That
I know the Apple Store does. The Apple Store has security. We're using the same security company that Apple hired. But I don't know any other restaurants. I don't know. They may.
Okay.
Councilmember Gutierrez, there are a number of buildings that have their own security. Paseo Nuevo, for example, has its own contracted security. We can talk about that separately, but I think that's a really important question and interesting data to gather.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Caparelli, I will forward you the information for those weekly calls separately. Thank you.
That would be great. Thank you.
Thanks. Next speaker, Ms. Perea.
Next speaker is Barry Remis. Barry Remis, go ahead and unmute yourself and you're welcome to speak.
Thank you again, Chair Harmon and subcommittee members. Just on a couple of items here regarding this topic or this agenda item. And I also want to thank Councilmember Gutierrez for bringing up the coalition or the group, the series of organizations that are coming together and have a meeting to find hopeful solutions for empowering and redirecting our talented and acrobatic bicyclists. And I want to applaud Mr. Clausen for using that term. It was very cordial. We're calling it loosely the downtown the downtown youth bike initiative. Coast and the Bike Coalition, as well as many others, the One Community Bridge Project, organizers with several of the bike clubs around town, mentors, have been meeting periodically to really try to find solutions on ways to be able to help rechannel the enthusiasm and the talent that these young bicyclists have. But at the same time, we also want to clarify that by no means is Coast condoning or approving or encouraging some of the unlawful and unruly behavior on the bikes. Swerving pedestrians, bicyclists, and pedestrians and pets on the street is just not acceptable. And we want to be able to help find ways to be able to rechannel that. And we are really looking forward to the city's support in that, in trying to find spaces in the community that we can do that. Separately, I also want to thank Mr. Gutierrez for bringing up the notion of enforcement on masks. I think we really need to get stronger with that on state.
Mr. Remus?
Sorry, my hand accidentally muted myself. So I'm wrapping up. Just wanted to say that we really would love to be able to see that enforcement continue to occur on State Street for that. Lastly, please, sorry about the segue here. I think you'll find it to be helpful in a contributory way for homeless support. I really do encourage personally all the city council members, while I do realize it's a budget constraint, to really think strongly about changing the threshold to 40 degrees for our warming centers. Please, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Remus. Next speaker, please, Ms. Perea.
Next speaker is Anna Gott. Ms. Gott, feel free to go ahead and start speaking.
Good morning. A suggestion I have is that maybe you need to have a report that is created by date stating the number of written warnings, the number of citations issued to those who are not wearing masks, to businesses, and those riding bikes. I think it would be very valuable for you to know exactly how many citations have been written and if anyone's received a fine. I suspect that we haven't really issued any fines, and we probably haven't, issued any citations, but that's just my own hunch. Regarding the homeless, so I find it very interesting that you now want to and are eager to actually see people basically harass the homeless and maybe ticket them, but you won't actually order your police to go to people's homes who are having parties or gatherings and ticket them or have the party or gathering shut down. This has contributed to a substantial amount of the reason that we have right now locked down. And we're going to have more than just 3 weeks locked down. And it is in part because we don't have people going and enforcing the rules. When you do not enforce rules, you have more and more lack of compliance. You are the reason why we don't have compliance. It's you. And it's the fact of the matter is that because people actually would comply if they know there's going to be a consequence, and we don't have any consequences. I want to reiterate, design review, our ugly parklets, the fact that you can't see retail businesses or drive down State Street. We have too many thrown out patio furniture in the middle of the street and not enough places for people to socially distance. I just find, amplified music in the time of a pandemic with people singing on State Street when they're not supposed to, ridiculous. And I will remind you again, land is not free. And we're giving away our public right-of-way for free even before the pandemic. And now you want to give the entire State Street for free.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Okay, and the final speaker is Anthony Grumbine. Anthony Grumbine, go ahead and unmute yourself, and you're welcome to speak.
All right, thank you.
Okay, so this is now the item I was supposed to bring up the thing on, but now I'll just pop back on just for any other additional questions or comments. I think for the most part, most things have been covered, and we're basically trying to pull together in the next couple of weeks some general guidance for placement of an organization, but also for the parklets and some of the other details. So.
Thank you, Mr.
And,
Grumbine.
yeah.
Any questions for Mr. Grumbine, Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, very grateful that not just you, but I believe Cass Ensberg also, I know that they have, we've had multiple discussions about it offline about how this might work. And if you could maybe share for us what, you know, we may have all different ideas about what might come out of sort of a mini charrette, but very basic skeleton footprint of where parklets might extend out to or not. Would you be working with business owners to see the impact to them, and then just really basic design guidelines? Is that the intention?
Yeah.
If you could just flesh out a
Yeah,
little bit.
sure. This is just sort of something that in discussion with various people, but especially Cass Ensberg, what our basic approach is going to be is to do with staff, kind of go down, study, looking at a number of good examples of parklets, and also functionally how everything could still, because obviously the flow underneath, you have handicap accessibility, you have traffic of pedestrian, bike, and others, and then there's also just sort of general aesthetic and organization of where things go on as a sort of a general standard. So we're going to try to look at all that together, come up with a couple of good examples, and maybe tweak things a little bit to show some basic designs for maybe a standard or two that might work in different conditions. I try to find a standardized condition for sizes of parklets or slopes of roads and things like that. There's going to be a number of conditions that are going to be involved with that. But also in sort of more universal sense, if we have at least a couple standards that work really well, it'll help to unify the city, not just State Street, but also any other parklets or the things like that. If we can get it something that works in sort of a very unified way, that's the goal. And then as parklets were updated or changed or modified, they would then modify towards the standard, but it wouldn't be a matter of like everyone has to redo everything to these new standards. It's more of a matter of going forward, how to improve and keep things more ordered and better looking and better functional as the sort of the general goal. So, and then it could be administrated on a staff level. We're also going to show HLC, sort of circle back with HLC, see if there's any other additional good comments from them or tweaks, and then they can kind of get standardized. So we see it as a couple of meetings and sort of intense little design shreds within those meetings, and then having produced something that people can follow, and it can all kind of work together. So that's the kind of game plan.
It's so needed, and I think I know I would be very grateful for that to come forward. And I just want to emphasize, so this would just be for, you just said it, for as there are changes or updates or new parklets, and it would be for this interim. You're not trying to design long-term design standards beyond the interim. That's right.
Yep.
It's just
that's right. This is all interim stuff. It's sort of like basic. It was interesting because going with Rob Dayton for the HLC, bike review and the e-bike thing. It was great going with staff because it was every block we developed a sort of a system, not a different system for every block, but a general system for how to align where those e-bikes would go to make the street extra orderly and sort of respond to planters or respond to other things that were on the street that show order, which is subtle, but it kind of all that order adds up to either a well-organized city or a disorganized and disordered city or areas. So in the same way, I see this sort of establishing basic ordering principles for this interim both the plants, the lights, how all those pieces generally go together, which are interim pieces. Yeah, so that how those can be ordered, and so that we at least over the next months or year or however long it takes before those things change, we at least have a more ordered city. So.
Fantastic. And I would just ask, so if you're going block by block, it's very tailored. And then if out of this that it would need more funding or more party support behind there to please let us know, and we can talk about if that's a recommendation we make or how to do that, because you're volunteering your time and it's extremely valuable. And thank you. I love this proposal, and I think, well, we'll wait till discussion, but it'd be great if it could move forward.
And I think it would probably also be a thing that we haven't talked much with staff yet. We have been in conversation, but we haven't. But I think game plan wise, is probably a couple weeks, and it would be good to present to you all and present to you where we are, what we have, and then hopefully things get finalized and go up the chain from there. But I think that would probably be the basic charge. Will be a couple of weeks of process and development, and then showing, and then if it all looks good, then it rolls out.
Great. Thank you so much, Mr. Grumbine. I echo Councilwoman Mayor Pro Tem Snedden's thanks, and we'll speak more about that during our deliberations. I think we have another public commenter, Ms. Perea.
Yes, we do. Cassandra Ensberg would like to speak, and go ahead. You're welcome to speak.
Finally, thank you so much, and great to see you. Thank you, Chair Harmon and committee. So appreciate your work on this. I think that pretty much everything has been said. Anthony summarized very, very well what we have been talking about. I just wanted to emphasize that, of course, we have long-term needs and we have short-term needs. And I think that's what the survey is all about. It's more long-term. That's something that the AIA charrette is all about. And that is more of a long-term idea. We need, I believe, and this is what Anthony talked about, we need immediate short-term solutions of how we can deal with how we share the street, how the street is used, where everybody goes. And I think that if we can help with that, we will have a lot of our problems will become less. So we are very, very anxious to jump in and help. We feel like this needs to happen immediately. And, we will have, of course, many restrictions, limitations, but I believe, as designers and architects, this is what we deal with all the time. And I think we can really help you. And we're looking forward to doing that and finding ways to make the safer, make it more beautiful, and work with what we have right now, work with what we've got and make it better. So I think that, we need a little sketch. We need a plan for each block that shows kind of what's going on there and how to resolve it. And that's what we would intend to do. So thank you again so much. We all work together for the community to make it the best we can be, and that it's the safest and, most wonderful place to live. And I'll leave it at that. And thank you very much again.
Thank you, Ms. Ensberg. Ms. Perea, any more speakers?
There are no further speakers, Madam Chair.
Great. With that, we will close public comment, and I will hand it over to Mayor Pro Tem for her comment.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't know if a motion is necessary but really, this is such an opportunity. I know we've had conversations that long before the subcommittee, even, with Mr. Grumbine and with Ms. Ensberg and other members, and just this need for the block by block consideration of this interim. We're doing so much so fast to meet the nimble needs of this community. And it's even over the weekend, we just had new orders and it changes again. And to have this experienced, thoughtful, caring for our community input, working with staff who has different considerations, and to bring those together, I just think this is an incredible opportunity for this subcommittee and for the city to please facilitate this and let it move forward. I think just very basic guidelines of the footprint and how it could look. And there's so much uncertainty with so many things that this will help businesses. I mean, some are putting a lot of money into their parklets and some are really not. And just kind of bringing that focus back and having it be beautiful and functional, and also with the considerations of El Pueblo Vieja all in there, you know, together, as I'm very grateful and very supportive. And then I think, I don't know if it's this portion or not, where we talk about, you know, this next 3 weeks when it's closed, and if this kind of, I don't know the timeline for if this can be, I mean, they've talked about doing it sort of intensely and quickly, and then if we could then either see that again here, or maybe time to bring back to council and really flesh out this sort of, as the interim moves into this next 2 years more, maybe getting more input from council as well.
Thank you. Councilmember Gutierrez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I just want to reiterate about the bicycle safety element. I've been fielding a lot of comments from the community, and I like seeing the bicyclists on State Street, but what does concern me is that a lot of them are juveniles, and it is the law that you're supposed to wear a helmet. So just for their own safety, they should be doing that. Also, just obeying the basic laws of bicycling, and just being respectful on top of that. And most importantly, the fact that I don't see that many of them wearing masks. I do see a few of them wearing masks, but they feel like because they're riding their bike, they don't have to. But then when they're just stopped on State Street and watching their friends do tricks and stuff, they're not wearing masks. And State Street's so heavily populated with tourists and people drinking alcohol and transients, and it's just not good. So in general, I agree that we should be more aggressive in citing people not wearing masks. But I kind of want to focus on the youth, because they're so vital to our community, and I'm worried about their health, especially now, and safety. So if we can just start talking about coming up with some sort of enforcement, I think it's vital for their safety and their well-being. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Gutierrez. Really appreciate your continued focus on safety. It's important that, especially now, we keep that in the front of mind. I am going to confine my comments mostly just as Mayor Pro Tem Sneddon did, to express my sincere appreciation to the folks that are doing this work to put together some design standards. I think that's a good term for it. I love it. I think that's going to be just hugely impactful. And it really does sort of feel like we're firing on all cylinders here when we're, you know, thinking about the long-term vision. We're also doing work to improve the interim, and, you know, it's really proving here that we can do more than one thing at once. And so I just truly am so grateful for all of the community that's come together to contribute their time and their expertise. I also want to say how much I appreciate the approach that Mr. Grumbine presented, that these standards will go into effect as changes were initiated by the business owners. I'm sensitive to asking businesses that are already under so much stress right now to add on top of it what could be expensive changes, thirdly, even for just an interim change. So I love that approach. It's so sensitive, I think, to the needs of business and to the precarious position that small business in particular, finds itself in right now, as well as the needs of the city for a beautiful, aesthetic, safe experience. So I really love that. And I just wanted to specifically point out that I thought that was a very thoughtful approach. And I really am grateful that you clearly are taking into consideration the impacts to the businesses themselves, as well as to thinking about, obviously, how we can make this street a better experience for all of us. I would like to suggest to my colleagues that we receive the presentation regarding the design standards here at this committee. It makes sense to me as we are tasked to look at interim issues. Certainly open to a discussion on that if you think it'd be better to go to the full council, but I think we can hear it here and just go forth. That works.
I think here
Mayor Pro
first,
Tem?
definitely
And then move
here
it forward.
first. And
Great.
then, you know, I'm thinking in the new year, and maybe it's the next item when we talk about our future meetings, but it would be great to see it here first so we can discuss that. But I think it is getting to the point where after this, it might be good to report more fully to council.
That sounds like a great plan. Okay. Awesome. Thank you, Councilmember Gutierrez. With that, I think we will close this item and move on. I'd like to note that we are 10 minutes over time. I think we're scheduled to go to 12:30. I can continue with this last item, or I think it's we're okay to move this and hear it in 2 weeks at our next scheduled meeting. I'd like to ask my colleagues if they have a preference, or staff, of course, if they have a preference.
I can give a real quick briefing on this item and then bring closure. I think it's really opportunity if we hold this item to have the public comment on that. So I think just broadly on the item before we open, it's really just sketching out. As you referenced, there is the last regular scheduled meeting that this subcommittee has is on December 21st. So that's 2 weeks from today. And I think the question mark that I have is, we heard a really robust conversation of a lot of work effort that has been initiated. Where we will be at in 2 weeks is a question mark, if there is anything substantive to report out or any new substantive items to present. At this point, I think we're going to be in process on a number of those items. And as such, we may be canceling the 21st meeting. We'll obviously evaluate the week preceding, a week from now, to evaluate. I just wanted to put that out there. And then just speaking on this last topic, we will be in the process of reviewing the community survey, obviously taking the feedback direction today to look to extend that. Concurrently working on gathering the thematic information to present to the subcommittee on vision statement and recommendations. Obviously taking into context the meeting today we'll be having an additional item, which is the parklet design function. And ultimately in 2021, those meeting dates have yet to be established. Taking all of this into consideration, I would be recommending to the body that we would schedule those 2021 meetings when we do have items ready for presentation versus having pre-scheduled fixed meetings. At this point, it would be a wild card guess at when we would be ready to present. And so I'd be recommending that we schedule those obviously in advance, but as needed, and really special meeting notices, since they wouldn't be regular schedule. Obviously the parklet would be one of those initial items. We can be giving updates with the community survey information gathered in, and maybe breaking down the information as we've gathered, because we have pretty much completed the stakeholder outreach effort. And then lastly, just this item that we'd be making not only recommendation on a vision statement, but then any other recommendations that would go a part of that, and ultimately needing to find a council date to present this, was to be an admin item presentation. And so as you all know, the council meetings scheduled quickly. So with that, I'll bring closure and take any questions that subcommittee members may have.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I guess it's just stylistically, I think what I'm hearing a little bit is that when you have a work effort, that you sort of time it for when you're finished with the work effort to present it to us. And I think I might want to shift that to that we're still part of the discussion during the work effort. I think I don't like when we cancel meetings personally. December 21st is really close to the holiday. I can see that, but if we're not meeting again then until later in January, a lot will have happened between then. And I realize you have a lot on your plate now and big work effort that you'll be doing, but I think if we wait a month, then it sort of shifts it to that we're just getting updates after the work efforts are done. And I really appreciate being part of the work effort, weighing in on it as it's developing. So that would be my, and I think the public too, likes to weigh in as it's unfolding. So I would like to keep the schedule of every 2 weeks, but defer.
Councilmember Gutierrez, do you have any questions? We do have some public comment on this item.
No, thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Gutierrez. Let's go to public comment, please, Ms. Perea.
Okay, we have Anthony Grumbine. Anthony Grumbine, go ahead and unmute yourself. You're welcome to speak.
Hi everyone again. I think that I think that at the risk of overcommitting, I think we'll at least have something that that's worth looking at by 2 weeks out. And I think it might be a good idea, especially considering with weather coming and the fact that certain drainage and other things are a factor of this. I think it would probably be good to at least have something in the works that if there were some things that needed to really be stepped on the gas that you've already seen and are already partially vetted, I think that would probably be a pretty good way of at least getting something into the system, because if it starts really pouring or other things shift timeline wise, it might be a full month and a half before these can roll out. And the reality is, as people winterize things, it'd be nice to have some consistency, and as steps go forward, it would be nice to actually have some plan in place, at least as some guidance along the way. So I don't know how much there would be, but I know that within our charrette times, I'm sure we can produce some visuals to help begin the conversation or even well on the way to some thoughts that could work. So I think we can get something together within 2 weeks. So that was it, and I'm happy to answer any questions or anything.
Great, that's awesome. Thank you so much, Mr. Grumbine.
And my children don't need me around during Christmas, so it's fine. Just
I'm
kidding,
sure
they
they
do.
differ. All right, thank you, Mr. Grumbine. Next commenter, please.
The next speaker is Cassandra Ensberg. Ms. Ensberg, feel free to unmute yourself and begin speaking.
Hello again. Hi, everybody. I just want to agree with what Anthony has said. I see this as being very urgent. If I had a magic wand, I wish we would have been on this some time ago. And I think that this is something, to me, this is a little bit like, it's urgent. We need to jump on it. We need to all hands on deck. I believe that. I believe so strongly about that we need, everything relates to this, all the things that people have brought up today. And, it's important that we are considerate of all of the needs and all of the people. And I appreciate that you all are doing that and hearing people out. I just think that this is a very, very critical moment. And I think we just need to really clear our schedules and get on it and make some good decisions about moving forward. So I would say not to cancel any meetings. And I know I, for one, will do whatever I can do. And I know Anthony and I have been speaking about it, and there are others at the AIA, I'm sure, can tap their shoulders and we can get more help. So I just urge all of us to move forward and help solve these problems for everyone. The bikes, the kids need a place to ride. We need a bike park where they can do their thing and do it safely. So without saying anything further, I'll just say I think it's very urgent, and I think we should keep moving on it and stay focused on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ensberg. That's great. Are there any more speakers, Ms. Perea?
Yes, we have one final speaker. That's Anna Gott. And Ms. Gott, you're welcome to go ahead and speak.
Good morning. Final person for the day. So I just want to mention a few things, which is one, we are not having any meetings on the in nighttime or on the weekends. So that means anyone that is going to work, they're not going to be able to participate. This meeting agenda is also not published in Spanish, and you don't have a meeting that's dedicated to listening to anyone in the city that does not speak English that actually would like to participate and they can't right now. Also, the display that was on State Street, that's not being circulated anywhere else. It's not up on the Mesa, it's not on the east side, the west side, it's not up by 5 Points. And it should be actually going on a tour of every single district and multiple places in the district. And we haven't had that happen. And I don't think that you guys are prepared to do it, but I think that you should. The next thing is, why aren't you partnering with, some of our churches or Casa de la Raza or Cause or any other organization that actually works with our Hispanic community to ask for input? Have you guys done that or even thought about that? Because that's a substantial part of our residents. And I'll tell you one thing, people don't go down to State Street because there's nothing there for the regular person to go by. When I go shopping, I go to Goleta or I stop up somewhere in LA when I leave town. I had to drive down to Oxnard to get something this weekend. If not, I was going to have it shipped. And I don't like having things shipped because I like actually going into storefronts. Regarding another issue, which is we're not separating the responses of tourists versus residents and people that might not live here, but in the city. And I think that those three things actually need to happen. And the last thing very quickly is someone was right. We actually don't have anyone that's making sure that this study is actually done in a scientific nature. We're directing them to actually close down State Street. And I don't think that is something that we should actually do. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Scott. And with that, we will close public comment and I will open the floor to my colleagues. Councilmember Gutierrez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In response to the last call, I, for one, am in pretty regular communication with those organizations, the Latinx community, the Spanish-speaking community. And I reach out to them for their opinions and their ideas on how to deal with the situations that we're dealing with on the city level. So yeah, we are in communication with them, and I know that they're also reaching out to us. The agenda in Spanish, that is something that I am concerned about because it's something that we brought up very early on when we were reading about this. So thanks for reminding us about that. Other than that, just, this pandemic's getting worse, and we as elected officials and city staff need to start stepping up and be more aggressive with the measures that we're doing to keep our residents safe. And yeah, I'm ready to do it. It might upset some people, but these are people's health we're sworn to protect. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Gutierrez. Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think I already made my comments about hoping that we'll keep on a regular schedule with the meetings. And I haven't commented yet. I'd like to second Councilmember Gutierrez's points about enforcement and masks and safety. I just think it's time. We're heading into pretty, dark times these next few weeks. And it's, I think we're going to need to really be doing what we can to get ourselves out of this pandemic. And mask enforcement is certainly part of that. And I guess this may be a bigger discussion about how we're doing that. But I just would like to, I hadn't commented yet on, and he's made this statement a couple times. And really the Spanish translation has to happen. I mean, State Street is for everyone. And I think we really need that outreach to be more proactive in that way. So seconding that as well. I'm very grateful that we're continuing to be nimble and moving ahead rapidly on some of these things to make it easier for our businesses to know what to expect, but also for residents to be able to feel safe downtown as well. So just excellent move forward on what we have and continue to refine it to make it better and better. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much. And I second all the comments from my colleagues. Hearing from our amazing experts who are donating their time that they think 2 weeks is good to have at least an initial conversation about design standards, that's absolutely fabulous. And I think we can keep the meeting and move forward with that. I would just remind everyone that as this survey is ongoing, it's unlikely that we will have data from the survey in 2 weeks. So as long as we're all aware that work effort is continuing and we can have these other absolutely necessary, absolutely vital conversations in the meantime, I think that is a very reasonable and very smart way to proceed. So we will plan to meet again on December 21st and really look forward to hearing from our friends and neighbors, the experts who are so generously giving of their time. With that, I think we can move to adjourn. I'm so grateful for everyone's time and effort and for their focus on this, and really wishing you all a very safe and healthy week. And as my colleague Councilmember Gutierrez reminded us, please, please, please wear your mask. With that, this meeting's adjourned.